Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Welcome to PLT Behind Closed Doors. The intro is always so weird. I'm always just like, hi.
and then when you listen to it, it's got this whole sassy beginning.
It's not like we've not been
really?
talking for like 10 minutes already. We're just like, just met.
Sat down. Hi, how are you? Should we shake hands?
I mean, we can. For the camera, everyone watching. I feel like we're fully introduced now.
We really are.
We are.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Do you know what?
We're very honoured to be here.
We've been dying to get you here. I'm not going to lie. Like, I've been waiting for this moment, so I'm really excited.
Well, I hope I provide the goods.
Oh, I think you will. I think you will. Now, first of all, congratulations on hitting 1 million followers on Instagram.
Thank you. I know. It's bizarre. I mean, 1 million. That's like a lot of people.
1 million people.
For me, it was more just the fact that you lose the K and you get an M.
Yeah.
It's like a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah.
How does it feel not having like all the numbers now? It is just like one number.
It's kind of refreshing. Also because it's going to take a hell of a long time to get to like the next number, but I kind of like that because you're not always checking.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, well, just let it be now.
I feel like we were waiting for that for a while. I was like, you know, I was ready for that. So
I had loads of people like messaging me like, when are you going to hit it? When are you going to hit it? I was like, do you not think I've got enough pressure on myself? I was like, I'm trying.
Do you do anything to actively try, or is it literally just like watching it go up every day?
To be honest, no. Sometimes like it will be weird. Like 1 week you'll grow so quickly, and then the next week you might just not do anything, and then you like panic. But then you'll be fine. It's really bizarre. So I was just sort of like, don't know when I'm going to hit it. All my friends were taking bets. They were like, I bet it's going to be this, bet it's going to be that. Someone got it spot on as well. So he was very happy.
Did he win anything? Did he win a prize?
Just the pride of knowing
just
that he knew me the
was
best.
good enough. And you actually didn't have your celebratory post ready either.
No.
It's just gone up a little while ago, and I mean, I love that though.
Do you like what? It was because it's like what most influencers, when they hit 1 million, they know they've got to get over a certain amount before they celebrate, because certain people unfollow just to see you drop down, which is like an actual thing.
That is so bad.
So many influencers have had that happen. So you kind of get through like a safety zone, and then you're like, okay, I'll post about it now. Plus, you know, I had to do something really extra. So I was like, kept saying to Joe, I was like, I need to do something. I don't want number balloons. I want something extra. And then, I came home yesterday to these flower numbers. And I was like, okay, should we get married? Because you've just nailed it.
For anybody who hasn't seen this flower number, you need to go to Sarah's Instagram and see it, because honestly, I was like, oh, wow.
It was really extra.
It was really good.
I was living for it, so.
Now, you are obviously killing it on Instagram and in the social media world right now. But I kind of want to start at the beginning for you. So I've actually followed you since I think pretty much day one. And I think OG followers, I think that you kind of started with That Pommy Girl, which was your blog. So tell me about your journey from the beginning to now.
So I didn't go to university because I knew that I'm not academically clever, never was, but quite creative. But I sort of had that guilt, you know, when all your friends are going to uni. I was like, I don't want to not do anything and just go and get a job, because they're all going to be like living their best lives. So I was like, I found this course at the Fashion Retail Academy in London. And at the time, it was just a 1-year course. It was called Level 3 Diploma in Fashion Retail. And it did everything. It was like fashion, styling, buying, PR. And I was like, this is amazing, because I'll do all of it. And then by the end of the year, I'll know what I want to do. So loved PR. That was like my favourite thing. So when I left, I went to so many job interviews. And this was 6 years ago now. And it was just as blogging was becoming something. Yeah. So every interview I went to, they were like, do you have a blog? And I honestly would sit in there in interviews and be like, what is a blog? Like, what is a blog? Because obviously you think about it, six years ago,
no one knew what it was.
It wasn't really a thing. And I didn't follow any. I had no idea. I had like, honestly, I don't think I was following. I mean, Instagram wasn't even a thing like it was. So I came home to my mum one day and I was like, I'm going to have to start a blog. And I've always been, like, especially back in the day, I was, like, too cool for school. Yeah. So I was like, this is so cringe. Like, everyone's going to laugh at me. And so I just literally started this blog, and I sat there with my mum. I was like, what do I call it? Mum's there, like, you should call it Sarah's Wardrobe or Sarah's Fashion Tips. I'm like, Mum, you're such a mum. So anyway, I was thinking about it. And then obviously, because I'm half Australian, Mum got onto that kind of topic. And then, because Mum's the Aussie one. So she was like, why don't you have Aussie in it? And that's how That Pommy Girl started, because obviously Pommy is slang for an English person. Yeah. So it's essentially That English Girl. And so then it just kind of started from there. And it wasn't ever meant to be anything. Wow. I literally was just doing it to get a job, so that when I was asked in an interview, I could be like, yeah, I've got a blog. And that was it, really. And then, I just started posting on it. It was getting my mum to take photos of me outside my house. Like, honestly, my old blog photos kill me.
And back garden.
Yeah, in the back garden, literally against the orange brick wall. And, it was just bizarre. And then it just kind of, within 6 months, it was sort of snowballing. But I do say, and whenever anyone asks me this question, I feel like I literally got in at the perfect time. like without even trying.
Yeah.
Because obviously I didn't want to be an influencer or a blogger or anything. I wanted to work in PR. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just work in fashion. So it wasn't ever me thinking, if I start now, this will be perfect. Yeah. It just happened. But I also feel like that's why it worked, because I wasn't trying.
Yeah, it was
just so organic. Natural, because it wasn't even when I got to like 100,000 followers, I was still like, probably should like look at getting a job. Because that was like 5 years ago.
The careers didn't like really exist then, did they?
No, and everyone, like, if you said you were a blogger, they were like, what?
Yeah.
Anyone you spoke to, whereas now, if you say you're a YouTuber or a blogger or an influencer, it resonates with people who actually get what you mean. Mm-hmm. But yeah, back in the day, like, no one had any idea. And my parents were literally like, for a good 2.5 years, they were like, I think you need to kind of get a job. Because obviously they don't, to them, it's like me just posting pictures online.
Yeah, didn't really understand
They were like, what is this? But no, and then obviously when I started to like make money, they were like, okay, maybe there's something in this. I was like, yes.
This is okay. Do you know what? It's actually crazy to hear, because I feel like I know quite a lot about you. I mean, a lot of your followers will.
Yeah.
But I actually didn't know that you started it for a job. And I think I remember that you were, working in the industry or within some form of retail at the time. Yeah. But I actually didn't know that it was for a job.
Yeah.
Like, that's
so I went from obviously having like a retail job, and then I was a promotional model, which sounds really glamorous. It wasn't.
Oh, really?
I literally used to stand, like people that stand in like the stations and hand out like North stock cubes.
Yeah.
That was me. Honestly, that was my,
I said,
I always say that because I remember it as my last job. I stood in Reading Station for 9 hours for 2 days, handing out North stock pots to people. And it was just kind of, I'd started my blog, but it wasn't, I was still just doing it on the side. And a girl came up to me and she was like, oh my God, I follow you on Instagram. And I think I quit the job like the next day, because I was like, I can't be this glamorous person on Instagram and then be standing in a station handing out North stock cubes. Do you know what I mean? So other stock pots are available, guys. But yeah, literally, like I was like, that doesn't really go together. But the money was so good. I was like,
really?
Yeah, promotional modelling, which is obviously sounds glamorous, not. It's like, I got paid like £12 an hour.
That's amazing.
Which is so much better than standing in like retail, because it was just like,
and it was good to support you at the time for what you were doing.
Yeah, it was, funded like the slight shopping addiction.
The slight.
But honestly though, but when I first started, because obviously, I've come from like a comfortable background, but I'm by no means like well off or anything. And I used to literally go into shops, buy stuff, wear the outfit, take photos and take the stuff back like that afternoon.
Tell me about this, because I've actually heard about this.
Yeah, it was
tell me a little bit more about that. That's
like a real thing, because obviously like, when you start out, and this was even before brands were aware of kind of bloggers, no one was even really sending. So once you've sort of worn everything in your wardrobe, you then had this kind of pressure that you're like, I need to get new stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, when you're young, I was like 20, I think? No, I must have been 18. Yeah.
18.
Yeah, 18. And, I didn't have like much money to my name at all. So you just do what you like.
Do what you've got to
do. What you do. Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah. That was what I would do, literally. So it makes me laugh now when I think about it. But it's just the things you got to do to get to, especially once I realised I had like a passion for it. Mm-hmm. But no, it was hilarious. And my parents were like, we're not buying you any more clothes. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
And when was it that you realised, okay, I can make this into a career? I can make some,
I think it was, as I said, it was after 6 months I got approached by Reward Style, which is obviously an online affiliate link platform. I had no idea what it was, and this girl like emailed me and was like, we'd like you to join. And I was like, okay. So I rang her and she explained to me like what it was. And and then I signed up, and just overnight it just started to make like a lot of money. And even the girl at Reward Star was like, we've not seen like the conversion that you have from anyone else. It was just, I always think that, and people always explain to me like brands and stuff, they're like, you just have somehow gained such a trust with people that follow you, that what you're promoting or wearing you genuinely love, which is something I've always tried to do, so that hopefully that is how they know that, and they want to buy it, because they're like, this is, Sarah really, really does love this, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, and then it was just within a year I was just making enough to live off it. So yeah.
That's incredible.
It was crazy. And that was before I'd even been offered to be paid for anything like social posts or all that. That was just online.
I think I actually mentioned to you before, you were actually one of the first influencers that PLT ever worked with.
I can't believe that.
And it kind of feels like we've grown together. Yeah. Because that was maybe like, 6 years ago now? So is that when you started, 5, 6 years?
Yeah.
How crazy, like, to see where you've come now and obviously where PLT is at.
And just the way that the industry has like evolved and changed and, you know, and it has changed so much. Obviously it's super saturated now, but it's kind of, it's almost easier now. It's like people understand what you do more because of the fact that there's more people doing it. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. So it's just easier now if someone turns around, as I said, and asks you what you do, they get it. So,
people are starting to catch on.
Because it has become like and even people like my best mate Becky, obviously she's a photographer, but she's just a social photographer. So she wouldn't even had that job 5 years ago.
It's amazing.
Like she now has that job because of the social media industry, basically.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And you're not just a massive deal on Instagram. You've also got your YouTube channel, which is incredibly successful.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is when I actually upload. I'm so bad.
You've been good recently.
I've been alright. I go through phases.
I feel like you're doing well.
I literally go through phases. I think it's because YouTube was it was, you know, when people start and they really have a passion for YouTube. It's not like I've never had a passion for it, but it's never been the thing that I've wanted to do.
Oh, really?
So I've always just loved creating images for Instagram. That's my favourite thing to do, and I love doing it. Whereas YouTube, I feel like I struggle to be creative with it. Like it takes a lot more to sort of think about the videos and stuff. So it doesn't come as like naturally. So as much as I love YouTube, it's like more of it's harder for me to do, I think. Which is a shame because I do love it. And I like to think, like, you know, I'm quite good on camera and like I'm, you know, a chatty person, but it just takes so much. I honestly like bow down to YouTubers because it just takes so much time and effort to actually do.
And with your lifestyle, like to fit that in as well.
That's the thing. I feel like if you're 100% YouTube, then you've got loads of time to put into it.
Yeah.
But because I'm sort of like got my finger in all these different things, it's hard to just do one thing properly, which is a little bit annoying, but...
And how do you feel like your content differs between Instagram and YouTube?
I feel like, well, I mean, obviously on YouTube, you're so much less filtered because it just goes without saying. Like when it's a video, you know, you can't do anything. But also, I think, I personally like that on YouTube, you can show your personality because I don't feel like you get that across on Instagram, really. No. You just can't. Like, the amount of people that will meet me and they're like, oh my God, you're actually really nice. I'm like, actually, like, what are you expecting?
Really?
But I think it's because, as I say, like, an Instagram picture can be taken so many different ways. Like, because obviously you're not necessarily always smiling, like you're posing or, you know, you might be looking really like fierce and people might be like, she's not very approachable. And then they meet
But then you just like go and watch the YouTube channel.
Yeah. So I think that's actually why I started one back in the day because I was like, I want people to just at least know a bit about me more than just kind of like, I'm just a picture on Instagram. So.
And how long has your YouTube channel been running now?
Oh my God. I don't know, maybe like 4 years. It's a long time. Wow. But as I said, like, I went through like a year and a half of just never uploading onto it. Yeah. So.
But I mean, you've still got the fan base there. You've still got the subscribers. Yeah. And I feel like you've mentioned you are quite open on the channel and you've spoken openly about a lot of different topics, whether it be cosmetic surgery or most recently cervical cancer.
Yes,
which was an incredible video. And I'd like you to tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so that was really interesting. They came to me to like, 'cause they had this big campaign and they were actually, it was an interesting one because they originally were like, what's your budget? Like, we want to pay you for this. And I was just like, knowing what the world is like at the moment with paid things, I was like, I really want to do this. Like, I'm passionate about sharing this message. But I know that if I receive payment for this, it just kind of takes away from the importance. Yeah. So I was like, can I just do this like in my own way? Like, you can still kind of like have control over it, but like I don't want to do like your specific campaign because I don't think it should be something that people are paid for.
It needs to look
organic. It needs to look organic.
Well, be organic.
Yeah. So it was so funny because it came to me literally 2 days before I got my letter through the post to actually go and have my cervical screening done. So I literally vlogged the whole thing. I was so glad I did do it because so many girls like to put me at ease. I booked my test the day after I saw your video. And then literally in my last vlog that just went up, I was talking about how I got my test results back and I had abnormal cells. Yeah. And so I obviously went along for because you have to go in for like a proper, like you have to go see a specialist. Yeah. So obviously when you get that email that you got an issue and you need to ring up, I was literally like all things going through my head. I was like, oh my God, I've got cancer. Like it's just the first thing you think about. Yeah. My mum was literally stressing out. I think my sister cried and I was like, let's all just calm down because it's probably nothing. Yeah. So anyway, so then went along to the specialist and they were like, there's basically 3 groups of people. There's the ones that are fine after their smear. There's the ones that actually do have an issue. And then there's this middle group that come back with these abnormal cells that might be fine, but just need to be double checked. So it was all fine and they were double checked and there wasn't anything to worry about. But I was almost glad it happened because I was like, it's even more of a reason to be like, go and get it done. Because like I was now using me as an example. Like I went to have my smear. I was walking around like everything would be fine. And then I left. And if I hadn't have had that smear done, those abnormal cells might have not been fine. Yeah. So it's just, it's
just proving the importance of
it,
really,
literally. So it was weird. I was like secretly kind of happy that I'd had that result come through.
Yeah.
Because it was just even more to be able to show people that it's fine, go and get it done. Like, it's not painful, like, just do it. So, yeah.
And you've obviously got such a huge audience. Do you feel that you've sort of got a social responsibility to talk about, deeper matters like that?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it was funny because when they came to me with this cervical screening thing, I was quite pleased because I feel like in the whole 6 years of doing what I'm doing, I haven't really had a chance to do anything which I feel like of real importance.
Yeah.
Because obviously, you're putting on fashion outfits every day and makeup and whatever else, but like really like, with such a big platform, you want to use it to actually do some good. Mm-hmm. But it's just obviously like I've never had like an outlet to be able to do that. So it was really nice to have that opportunity.
Yeah. And you've also spoken about like your cosmetic procedures before. You also spoke about your experiences with surgery, with plastic surgery. Why do you feel the need to sort of talk about that? Is that because you want to be, honest and upfront with your audience?
I think it's because I feel like, there is such a taboo around these sort of subjects. And I feel like if you are being a role model to younger girls and you want to because I feel like there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting anything done that you want done to yourself. And that's my thing. I will always stand by that. Mm-hmm. But my issue is when people when they lie about it.
Yeah.
That's when I have an issue because there are so many young girls that are growing up with social media these days and they're looking at these girls and they're like looking in the mirror and they're like, well, I don't look like that. Well, those girls didn't look like that.
Yeah.
They've made themselves look like that.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I have an issue with. So I feel like as long as I'm open and honest with people, then hopefully they can give me the respect and understand, and just kind of like accept the fact they've had it done and just be like, oh, that's fine. That was your choice. And at least you know that that's what I've had done.
Yeah.
And also I feel like being really open and honest with your followers, it kind of leads to like less hate then as well.
Yeah.
Because they, if you're just being honest, there's not really much to hate on.
Yeah.
Really.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before then just how social media at the minute, like it's a huge topic and a lot of people are struggling when it comes to the likes of mental health with comparing themselves to others on the likes of Instagram.
Yeah.
So I want to know, as Sarah Ashcroft, the girl with 1 million followers and what seems like the perfect lie on the outside, have you ever suffered with something like that?
Oh my God, all the time. Like I think, sadly, obviously being in this industry, you do feel this pressure to look a certain way. And actually, the boobs I've always wanted to have done. Like a boob job I've wanted one since I was like 15 years old. So that was never anything to do with social media. But I do feel like the fillers and like maybe the lip fillers, that it probably has been influenced by social media. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually haven't had any since October last year because I had my top lip dissolved because I had an issue with it. And ever since I had it dissolved, I was like, oh my God, I actually look so much better without it. So it kind of made me rethink.
That's it. You actually said you're not sure why you had it done in the first place, which is crazy.
And but I feel like you go through phases. And it was actually like, I think it would have been maybe 3 years ago now when I started having them done, and it was typical. Like I was literally like dating a really shitty guy and like feeling probably quite crap about myself, and you just like, and also as bad as it is, you're getting DM'd every day from different cosmetic people being like, we'd like to do this, we can offer you this, we can offer you that, which I personally feel like is really not great. But and then as an influencer, you're like, well, I might just try it out, and it becomes addictive. It does.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I don't know. I am a very confident person, so I wouldn't say that I've ever felt like unconfident, but I do feel like it does influence certain things because you see so much of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think it's interesting you just said there that, I mean, I'm not naive to the influencer world. I work in social media at PLT. I kind of know how things go on. But the cosmetic brands will message you and say, I want to do this. Like, as a you're like, influencer or not, you're still, let's say a couple of years, but still you're a young mind. Like, for someone to do that, I mean, I get it. But I'm like, how do you deal with that? Like, mentally, like...
I know, it is bizarre because also you can be like, well, what's wrong with my face?
Exactly. That's what I'm like. It's a lot to be, because if you're already thinking about it, which in this day and age, let's say, I'm sure that most people do think about it.
Yeah, massively.
So when you're then offered that, it's kind of, I can get why you'd be so.
And the thing is, if you are sort of feeling like you want something done and then someone does message you, then you're instantly going to be like, well, I'm going to book in. I'm definitely going to book it now. So, I think it's just the world that we live in now. Mm-hmm. I think there's no point in like fighting against it. I think everyone's just kind of got to embrace that, people are getting this done and it is becoming a thing. But I just think people need to realise and be open and honest when they've had it done. So that everyone looking knows that they didn't, they weren't born like that.
Yeah. That is why I wanted to bring it up, because, you know, I admire the fact that you are transparent on your YouTube and you do talk about it. And I think that's a really good way to be, because, again, like you said, if you do want to go and do something, that's okay. But, you know, at least you're open and honest about it. So you're not setting an unrealistic standard sort of thing, if you know what I mean. What advice would you give to anybody who is going through maybe body image issues or comparing themselves to the likes of Instagram, people on Instagram?
I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's so easy to say to someone, be like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Like, you look amazing." But it is just such. It's so more like deep rooted than that.
Yeah.
And I do feel like, I mean, even my sister, I met with her like a few months ago, and she was like, I removed Instagram off my phone for a bit, because she was like, I just feel like I just get depressed every time I finish like on the app. And as an influencer myself, and then hearing my sister say that, I was like, that's just really sad that is the industry these days. But I do feel like it is a case of if you are feeling, like I always say to people, I'm like, do you come off the app feeling happy? And if the answer is no, then you almost do need to have a detox and see if you feel better. Because that, it really is, like, to be honest, everyone talks about, don't they, that the big issue is Instagram and how they feel when they're on it. So it's like the only sort of way out of that is maybe to just have a bit of a detox. And spend some time, like, which, you know, it sounds stupid for someone like me who is an influencer and wants everyone to be on Instagram. Yeah. But at the same time, like, your mental state is so much more important. And it is just such, like, a rose-tinted world on Instagram. Yeah. That's the problem. So I feel like you either have to do it, or you just have to really realise that what you're looking at is just the perfect side of people's lives. Like, it makes me laugh. Like, I'll have really crap days where I'll almost be in tears about something or another, and I'll be posting a photo on Instagram where I'm, like, smiling away, and it just makes me laugh.
Subconsciously, though,
because, you know, I know that I've got to do this job thing, but I just, you know, life also happens. So I think it is just important to remind people that it is, you know, people are only showing the good things.
And how often are you on the app? I'm interested to know, like, how, or maybe not the app, let's not just call out Instagram, but how often are you on social media?
To be honest, I thought I was, like, worse, but you know how your iPhone started doing that thing where it tells you your screen time?
Yeah, love it.
I guess
I hate it.
I know, I do. I thought I was going to hate it, but it's only, like, sometimes between, like, 3 and 4 hours.
Really?
A week.
A week?
Which I don't think is that bad.
That's really good. You want to see mine?
It's really good. Even my boyfriend was like, I'm so surprised. Because I feel like I'm on my phone a lot, but maybe... I don't know.
Do you scroll though? Like, I want to know, does Sarah Ashcroft scroll through the gram?
Not really. The only time I will scroll is if I'm literally, like, maybe, like, waiting at a train station or an airport, or like a waiting room in, like, a doctor's surgery or somewhere where I'm, like, bored. Yeah. But honestly, like, I'm so busy, I actually don't have time to sit on Instagram.
I can imagine.
Which I think is also probably... It's a good and a bad thing. So I do feel like you feel like you miss out on things as well. Like, I'll be talking to other social media influencers and they'll be like, oh, did you see this? And I'm like, no. I feel like I'm, like, so out of it. But
that's kind of good, because you're so busy with your own life that you haven't really got the time to be watching everyone else.
Yeah, and I think that's actually where I struggle a little bit with YouTube, in the sense that I really like to keep my life separate. Yeah. Like, for the whole 6 years that I've been doing this, I have a social media life, which is obviously still me. But, you know, like, I have this whole other side that just would never be shown, because I like that it's separate. Yeah. Because I feel like otherwise you can get so involved in it, and it does take over your life a bit.
And so what is this separate side like? I'm interested.
Well, the separate side, I'm literally, like, I'm always drunk. I'm always
with a beer in hand.
Always with a beer. Always with a beer. Like, I'm just honestly, like, my friends are everything, so, like, I'm always out and just drinking, and and also but then at the flip side of that as well, like, I love literally sitting on my sofa doing absolutely nothing with my boyfriend. Like, that's, like, my happy place. Yeah. So, but then again, that I wouldn't really show either. Yeah. So there's just sort of, like, this in between that I sort of show off.
Okay. And you mentioned friends there.
Yes.
So do you have friends that are kind of from outside of the industry as well?
Yeah. I mean, actually, I do have a few friends within the industry, but I do keep myself separate. Like, I'm not like a lot of influencers. Like, I don't really go to many events.
No, you don't.
It's not because, you know, I don't want to meet influencers. I just keep myself separate. Yeah. So I've always been like that. So I have all my really good friends outside of the industry. Mm-hmm. And then I've got some really nice ones who I've met through, like, traveling and things like that within the industry. But just also I am quite like I don't know, like, I like to have, like, really good, like a few really close friends. Yeah. And then that's me done. Do you know what I mean? So.
And what do they think of your crazy lifestyle? Because, I mean, it is pretty mad.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, most of them they get it now. At first, it was all just a bit like, what the hell is this? What's going on? There was, I suppose there was slight, like, not like jealousy, but almost just like, oh, like they didn't know how to talk to me.
It's a lot to take in, I guess.
Like I'd sit down at, like, we'd go for like catch-ups and everyone would be talking about their days and like their office jobs, and I feel like I would have to dumb down or like make mine sound worse. Because obviously you don't want to sit there talking about, like, you're not even boasting, but you're just talking about what's going on in your life, and it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't, but then you've got your friends who've worked so hard to be in the positions that they're in, and they're like absolutely nailing it, and you don't want them to feel like they're not because of what you do. So I do feel like I've had to sort of, like, you have to be aware of the situation you're in when you're talking about what you do.
But you've also worked really hard for what you've got.
Yeah, no, completely. But then obviously, luckily, as I say, one of my friends, Becky, obviously she travels with me, so she really gets it, which is really nice. So we've travelled a lot together, and then honestly, like, everyone else they just get it now. It is what it is. They still take the piss out of me as soon as I get my camera out to take a picture, but what friends for?
Do you know what? It's working for you, though.
Yeah,
so
exactly,
there you go.
Exactly. So.
And what about friends in the industry? So you've had previous friends in the past, so you've been very close to the likes of Holly Boone and Imogen.
Yes.
And kind of I want to know what happened there. Like, are you guys still friends? Do you talk?
To be honest, I'd love to know what happened there as well.
Oh, really?
That would honestly be what I'd say. I feel like, we've all agreed that we don't get on. And
that's how it is.
It's just how it is. And I think it's good to be like that, like, I respect what they're doing, and I like to think that they would do the same. And actually, like, sometimes not speaking is just a good thing. Or not, not reacting or anything like that. So, like, I wish them all the best with whatever they're doing. But yeah, it was just one of those things, which was a shame because I really did enjoy their friendship.
That's
and
it. I thought you guys were quite close.
Yeah, we had like a really good time. But I think it's just it's the pressures of the industry, and everything else that can go on. But luckily, like, we've all moved on from it. And
well, thank you for sharing that with us. I think it's really interesting that being in the influencer world, from an outsider's point of view, it can look like you could be forced into friendships. And I don't mean that with Holly and Imogen. I mean that with you're all doing the same sort of, well, you're all doing very different things, but, you're in this influencer world, you attend events together, you can be put on these trips together that kind of, you can make friends with people that you don't actually really know.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is I feel like you're brought together in an industry that, you kind of bond a little bit closer than maybe you would on, like, just in normal life. Yeah. So you do kind of, like, the friendships kind of form really, really quickly. And as you say, like, you don't really know the people.
Yeah.
But, like, 9 times out of 10, like, it does work. And, everyone is really, really lovely. And, so within the industry, you can form, like, really genuinely lovely relationships. So no, but that's why I think it is important to have your really strong group of friends outside of the industry.
Yeah.
Because they're the friends that you've known for years, and like, them inside out, and they've always got your back. Yeah. So, it is important to have those friends.
And I want to bring up as well Yasmin Chanel.
Yes.
Because you guys were like, I mean, you seem to us from an outsider, you seem like the best friends. You had an Instagram together.
We did. We had a
cocktails
Instagram.
I mean, I used that for inspo on, like, so many things.
We really were amazing at taking cocktail pictures. But again, I feel like, for me personally, it was after the whole incident happened with, Holly and Imogen, I honestly, like, just took myself out of the industry.
Right.
I basically just shut myself off from all influencers, not even trying to be rude or, trying to, like, just cut people out. But I feel like I was just like, well, I'm so happy with my life outside. I don't need any drama. Like, like, dramas for, like, high school. Like, I don't want to attract anything.
Yeah.
So, I just literally sort of just shut myself out of the world. And actually, like, I do feel better for doing it. Like, I do feel like it was good. And it's not saying, that, I don't like these people, because I do. But I love that I've got this whole separate life.
Yeah.
And I see it as just influencing as my job.
Yeah.
And that's it, really. So, yeah. Okay. It's just what it is. And also I feel like when the industry does change, because obviously these girls, especially, like Yasmin, like, she's been around for ages as well.
Yeah.
And it just, like, obviously when we were smaller, there was only like 10 or 15 influencers to invite to events. So obviously we were doing everything together. But then obviously, like, it starts to grow. And then obviously, as I say, like, I just don't really go to events. And you just naturally just sort of start to grow apart, really.
Yeah. That's understandable.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before the Cosmopolitan article.
Yes.
So that was back in 2017.
Yes.
And you did get quite a bit of backlash from that. So tell me about that from your point of view, because I feel like I saw it and we saw it from Twitter point of view, from a social, but how was it from you?
I mean, I was honestly, like, the worst 2 weeks of my life. I was in an absolute hole. I think it was just because I was quite shocked by people's response to it. I think the problem is the article, when I was having the article asked me, it was a question and answer.
Right.
So it was like a Q&A. So I was having, and then when the article was written up, it was, the questions were taken out and it was written almost like a story. So the context was removed.
To which,
So the way that things were said in sort of, as I say, like the wrong context. So I can understand how people had taken it like completely and utterly the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, and also like tone of voice is lost. So they just read it in like one tone, whereas I'm quite sarcastic and I'm not like, you know, I'm not always so like, I don't mean everything in a way that it can sometimes come across when you're reading it.
Yeah.
I still, to this day, though, I will stand by that article because I do agree with everything I said, but I just feel like without the questions, it loses the context.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened. And yeah, unfortunately, literally, it was almost like an opportunity that everyone had this, it was almost like everyone had this pent up anger towards me that they suddenly had like a way to unleash it. Because it was so, they were like, I was getting like death threats.
It was hard.
And like people literally like being so awful for I didn't really understand what. Like, it was just bizarre. But, you know, like, it is what it is. I've learned from it as well because I've learned that I would never do an interview that's not got the questions in again. Because, you know, the questions can be so leading. And then if that question's not put in there and then they just put the answer in, people will be like, what the hell is she saying that for?
Yeah.
But, you know, people also only see the side of something they want to see. So even when I was saying, like, guys, you've lost the context of this, like, people were just like, you're just saying this because this is what you think. And I'm like, well, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it is, you know, and it's something that I've now had to live with. You know, I appreciate that it didn't go the way that it should have gone. And unfortunately, it has affected me massively. Like, I have the worst social anxiety. That's another reason why I just don't go to events, because I just convinced that everyone hates me. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. But because obviously the entire blogging industry, like, unleashed upon me, I just, you know, it's another reason why I take myself away from it, because I'm like, I couldn't imagine writing the sort of things that they were writing about me. So I was just like, I don't want to be around people like that. So unfortunately, it has made me sort of separate myself slightly from that industry. But, you know, it's just one of the things, isn't it? Everyone's entitled to their opinion. And that is what happens when you put yourself out there.
Yeah.
You've got to just accept people's opinions. And so that's what I did. And yeah, I mean, obviously we're 2 years on from it now, and hopefully everyone's sort of like, you know, kind of gets the point of views in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I still, to this day, it's definitely still affected me, like 100%. Like, it will always stay with me, I think.
It's actually upsetting to see like how much it has affected you. And you telling me there that, you know, you have this feeling that nobody likes you. Like, and this is the thing, people listening and people who have written them comments don't understand what their words do. And that is such a topic of conversation and such a thing right now with social media, that unfortunately people are and do leave negative comments and feel that they can, and they've got this entitlement, when really they're not thinking about who they're affecting on the other side of the line.
No, and it's also because I think they forget that they're one person.
Yeah.
But then when you've got one person times 50,000 doing it, then it just like builds up. But no, for that first week that it came out, I mean, this is super dramatic, but I fully like probably like rock bottom, like seriously, like was sort of feeling like must be what people feel like when they're right at the edge. Like, it was just horrendous. But it's just, as you say, like, people just forget that there's only one of me and like a lot of them. So yeah.
But you know what? Look where you are now.
I know.
And you've got a loving family, you've got a loving boyfriend, and you've also got, don't forget about these million followers that absolutely adore you.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger,
yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Like, I learned from it, as I said, you know, like, I learned that maybe sometimes, you know, I suppose I just learned that sometimes you can't be as open about your opinions because certain people will react to it wrongly. So I have learned that, you know, to be maybe slightly, I suppose it has closed me off a bit, which is a bit of a shame, because I feel like I've always been, like, even before I was like an influencer, I'm very like black and white. Like, I will say things how it is. There's no bullshit. And unfortunately, that's one thing I feel like I can't be anymore. Like, I loved that I would just kind of like, I didn't care, I'd just say what I want. But since that, I do feel like I have to sort of like, I probably shouldn't say that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I know that was obviously a big question there, and I really appreciate, you know, I think it's really nice to hear actually your point of view, and I hope that some people listening will take that in and take that on board as well. Yeah. Now, on to a happier note and a really more exciting note. I can't wait to talk about it. I've been dying. So you have just announced that you have your own clothing line coming out.
which is so exciting. I've literally been like, this has been in the plans in my head for probably about 2 years.
Wow.
It's been in the actual planning for about a year, just over a year. And it's finally here. So it's literally just been like, it's been hard because it's just me.
Yeah.
So I've sort of like, I just decided one day, I was like, I want my own thing. So I was sort of like thinking, how do I even start, like finding manufacturers and all this kind of stuff. And then, you just learn as you kind of go along. And so SLA the label will be coming
We've just dropped the name, guys. SLA the label. Oh my God, it's got such a nice ring to it.
So obviously SLA is my initials.
Yeah.
I was like, honestly, toying back and forth. Naming it was the hardest thing. Like the hardest thing. Because I was just like, it was like when I had to name my blog for the first time. Yeah. I was like, God, what the hell am I going to call it? But no, so SLA was just seemed like
Sarah's
a
closet this time.
No, Mum, I didn't even ask Mum. I was like, Mum, you're not even allowed to name it. But no, so it seemed really fitting. And it's just, I just love it because I feel like as we were saying before I came in here, like you get to a point where you've gotten everything you can out of being an influencer, and I've loved every part of it, but I just need a bit more now.
Yeah.
And I feel like, it is just a natural progression to do something. And also I want a challenge. Mm-hmm. Because obviously, I feel like I've nailed influencing. Like I know how to take a picture and upload it onto Instagram. Like I feel like I've really done it. And now I just really want to wake up and be like, have something kind of like to really challenge me and like a real sort of, and I have such a passion for this like brand. So I'm excited. So I'm starting off small and then it's going to kind of grow as I go along. I've been reading so many business books, like literally. I'm like some crazy person. So it was like, a lot of them were saying, because I was obviously thinking, I need to launch with like 30 different pieces and all these different colours.
How did you figure it out?
Because obviously, I've been so used to other ranges having like such variety.
Yeah.
But then everything I've been reading has been like, just start small and go from there, like really nail it and then kind of grow, because you don't want to like run before you can walk.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm very nervous, but I'm excited.
So I've got to ask, were you shooting it in LA before?
I was.
Coachella,
I was.
We bloody knew it, Sarah.
I know. I feel like everyone did, to be honest. Like
we were all talking. We were like, right, so Rebecca is in LA. Sarah's gone to LA early before Coachella. Rebecca's there. They're shooting something. Something is happening.
It was so funny though, because when you say you're announcing something, you get the funniest responses. Like a lot of people think I'm going to announce that I'm pregnant.
What?
And I'm like,
I mean, I know you're in a good place right now.
Would that have to be to let people know that you're going to announce? Like to be like, I'm not just going to
announce it. I have an announcement coming.
I'm going to tell you. I was literally laughing so much with Joe. I was like, is there something that we need to know? But no, it is funny, and it's just good to see people's guesses. But luckily, a lot of it is like, it's a clothing line. It's a clothing line.
Everyone's going to be dying for it. Like, I mean, what can we expect from the clothing line? I want to know, what are the pieces going to be like? Can you give us any exclusives?
Basically, it's kind of like, I've started off with obviously like airport attire, because it goes without saying.
I mean, that's the Sash.
So just super casual, like literally just jogger sets, but like like matching. They're like 3-piece sets.
Yeah.
In different colours. And then I've done like slogan t-shirts that you can wear with your joggers, or like swimwear, which I live for, but like cool slogans, not like kind of like cringy ones. Like they're really cool. Like I've got one that says "Food Baby."
That's it.
Do you know what I mean, I was kind of designing it though, thinking like about the Instagram pictures behind it. So I had like a vision of me like sitting in like In and Out with like this t-shirt on, and I was like, that's just,
That's why we know it's going to be so good, Sarah. You think of everything.
So I know I've really, really thought about it all. And then so then swim will launch probably like late June, I think. And then it was just going to go from there. And I've got like a dressier collection coming out in sort of like August. So I've just kind of done it slowly. Obviously, ideally, I would have loved to have dropped everything all together, but I just think, like kind of stagger it.
Yeah.
Because it's just even silly things like, sorting out your warehouses, and like, I'm like, I've got no idea what I'm doing, and, working out like quantity orders. And it's just a whole other world. So.
And so the first drop, what date is it?
So the first drop is the 9th of June.
9th of June, guys.
9th of June.
Put it in your diary. Set the reminder. It's coming, okay? I can't wait.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited.
What does Joe think about it all?
I mean, Joe obviously is just like super proud.
Yeah.
But he's just sort of like, I mean, obviously it's a boy. He doesn't really completely get like the fashion industry. But I'll show him like samples that will come through, and he's like, yeah, looks amazing. Looks really good. I'm like, really, you just couldn't care less what this looks like. But I appreciate the support. But no, I think he's just excited for me to have another sort of project to work on. So
it's amazing. Congratulations. That is such a big thing, and I cannot wait to see.
Yeah, I'm really excited to share it.
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting. So talking on Joe is of course your boyfriend, for anyone that doesn't know. I mean, We all do.
I'm a taken woman now, guys.
That's it. Tell me a little bit about how you guys first met. I mean, I think we've all got an idea.
Yes.
And like you've spoken about it in the past, but tell me from the beginning how you guys met.
It's actually like a really funny story, which people, I don't even know if anyone actually knows this, so this is sort of like a proper exclusive. Komodo boys will probably hate me for this, So obviously Joe and his mate Nick owned this company called Floats.
Okay.
Which was obviously a pool inflatable company, and I met them when I was in Marbella on a photo shoot with my other friend who owns a brand, and we were shooting her sunglass collection. We were like, we need some pool inflatables. So Gemma was on Instagram. She was like looking through and she found this company, which is obviously Joe and Nick. So we met them literally for like 5 seconds, handed over a float, and I was like, amazing. Then nothing. This was in June. So in November of that year, I got a message from Nick on Instagram. He was like, hey, Sarah, like Joe and I are coming to London. We really want to meet you. Because we want to talk about like social media and kind of like get a bit of a feel for it because we don't really understand it. Because they were two, like they were rugby players.
Yeah.
So they were obviously like not a clue about the whole social Instagram game. So met with them. And they were asking me if I would consider doing a float with them, so like the Sarah Ashcroft float. So I was like, amazing, like why not? Bit of a laugh. Yeah. So created this unicorn float. We all went out to Ibiza to shoot it. Anyway, I remember saying to my friends, I was like, okay, so there's these two guys, and one of them is really fit, and I really fancy him. But he was like super mysterious and didn't really like say much, but I think that's why I liked him. So anyway, so we're all in Ibiza, and Becky's like, she was like, I think he likes you, but I was like, I'm not sure. So it was literally like girls running around at like a disco. Like Becky's like, by the way, Sarah fancies you, and I was like dying outside. I was like, oh my God. So we all get like drunk at this villa party. Anyway, end up getting with Joe, and I was like, oh my God, he likes me. This is amazing. So kind of nothing really happened. He was sort of my type, but not really. Kind of like a sexy hobo. Had like really long hair and like beard, but you kind of like he'd been traveling for a really long time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
So then they left obviously that trip, and they were like, right, we were kind of onto something here with taking social media influencers away. Yeah. And that's how Komodo started, which is obviously their content creation company that they've got currently. And so we started going on trips together, and Joe and I sort of were like, right, there's actually something in this here. But the number one Komodo rule is do not get with the influencers. It is the number one Komodo rule. So the boys are like, can't get with influencers. And actually Joe made that rule up himself. So he's only got, because he's head of talent.
Shot himself in the foot then.
So he came up with this rule. So anyway, so we were in Bali I think it was in 2018. Possibly, maybe 17. And we were like, right, there's something going on here, but we weren't too sure. So in 2018, I flew out to Hong Kong where they were playing on the way back from a trip to Australia with Becky. And obviously it wasn't a Komodo trip. So we were just sort of like chilling as friends. So when they were playing? Yeah, so they were playing rugby in Hong Kong.
No way.
Yeah, also
so he
still
takes it quite seriously then?
Yeah, well he was like semi-professional for like, it was, for rugby's been his whole thing. So he literally left uni and just played rugby.
Wow.
So so we went out to Hong Kong to visit them on like a weekend, and obviously it wasn't a Komodo trip. So Joe and I were like, right. So we ended up like getting with each other, and Joe was like, you still interested? And I was like, yeah. So then I think it was about 3 weeks later, we ended up going on a Komodo trip to Sri Lanka. Anyway, so Joe and I, by this point, we've known each other for like almost 2 years, and we're like, Jesus Christ, it's been 2 years and we haven't even slept together. Like, what is going on? Because we were like fully like involved.
Yeah.
But we were like, this is just ridiculous. Also, because I was a bit like to Becky, I was like, I feel like I need to sleep with him because I'm not sure if I really
You need to check.
Him. You need to know. You got to try before you buy,
Exactly.
So anyway, so we were in Sri Lanka and we were like, how the hell do we do this? Because it's like, I was sharing a room with another influencer. I was like, this is just. So I book another room.
No way, you're full on.
I go onto bookings.com and book another room. Literally. So I like text Joe and I'm like, here's my room number. It was honestly like, to this day, it's so funny. But Joe now has this saying where he's like, you can't get with the influencers unless 6 months later you move in with them. Because it's literally what happened. But as Joe said, he was like, like it wasn't a fling.
No.
We knew that we really did like each other. It was just an interesting circumstance because obviously how do you go about something when you're trying to be professional? And he always was super professional. Like no one knew. We managed to keep it so under wraps that like no one knew. Even when I tell influencers now, they're like, I had no idea.
No way.
And then we knew that it was actually something serious. So it was worth risking it a bit for. But no, it does make me laugh because that is literally what they say to anyone now. They're like, you can't unless you're going to move in with them. So,
but you've proven it can work though. Yes. It can work.
Yeah.
So you were kind of at the time, I think, when you were going on trips with Real Komodo a lot.
Yeah.
You kind of came across as party girl, Sarah. Would you agree?
Yes.
You were obviously on these trips, drinking, partying all the time.
The Komodo trips are loose as well. So
I mean, they look so much fun.
Yeah, they are great fun.
So how has it been going from party girl Sarah partying with Real Komodo to now being in a relationship with Joe from Real Komodo?
I've always been that person that's literally like, even on a night out, I'm like so oblivious to boys. Like I just could not care less. I was there to have fun with my friends.
Yeah.
Like even when I was single, like I honestly like wouldn't sleep with anyone. Like, guys, this is probably TMI, but before I met Joanne, I almost made it a year.
Really?
Yeah. Like, that's how much I'm just not interested. And I was so focused on work. And also, I'm just not that sort of person.
You just didn't. So I really
was like, I was either like, you know, just really into work, or I'm a relationship person. There's not really that kind of like crazy, wild, single side. But I just liked going out and drinking, really. Yeah. So it's worked quite well, because it's like I still get to do that now. But I'm even happier because I'm actually in a relationship, which is really what I wanted. So.
And how does it feel? Okay, girl to girl. When Joe's going away on these trips and we are coming over and you're not there.
To be fair, I think I'm in a really good position because I've been on so many. I know the vibe. Yeah. And it's always so funny because we always talk about this, that from the outside in, these trips look so wild. But then when you're on the trips, it's like a family. Like the Komodo boys are literally like, they're like your brothers. Like there's none of this sort of like weird kind of like sexual vibe. Like it's not like that at all. Yeah. They're so just like the nicest boys to be around, and everyone just leaves feeling like they've been away with like friends they've known for years. So even though it's got this sort of like wild look, it's more just literally like friends just having a great time. So I know that, and I think it would be really hard if you were a girlfriend who hadn't been on a trip. Yeah. So you just look at them and be like, what the hell's going on? But because I've been on these trips, you know, you just kind of are fine. Plus, I'm not really that much of a jealous person. That's good. I'm quite chilled, and I trust Joe literally to like the end of the earth. So it's quite nice. But I feel like it's taken me a while to get to that place. But when you're in the relationship with the right person, it's just like that, isn't it? Yeah. You just don't have any trust issues.
And you've now moved in together.
I know,
in London.
We have.
What's next for you two? What's the future holding?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to think. I know I will end up marrying him. It will just happen because you just know. It always makes me laugh because it's like that saying. You know when people say you know when you know. Yeah, I'm like, you do. It's actually so true. You do. So no. So that will happen, and we'll just carry along being #couple goals.
I'm excited to see what happens for you two guys. So Sarah, you've already done so much so young.
Yes.
What is next for you?
To be honest, I'd like to think that my goal is to do, obviously, SLA. And then I've got some other projects coming out in October, which, again, is sort of like my own things. But I would like to think that I'll get to a point where I will always be an influencer. Yeah. And that will always be, where I've come from. But I don't know if I necessarily want to be taking pictures when I'm like 30 onwards. Like for some people that works for them, but I just personally, I don't know if I want this in, like the kind of like pressure of looking good every day. And like, I really want just kind of like my own businesses, and just to be like a respected businesswoman would be like the goal at the end of the day. And obviously, I'll never ever not be uploading on Instagram because I love it too much. But I just don't want to be like known as Sarah Ashcroft influencer. Like I'd like to have maybe a bit more to me than just that. Yeah. So that's kind of how I see myself going in like the next few years, is just to try and branch out a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah.
And you've spoken in the past about Instagram dying.
Yes.
And do you think that has spurred you on to what you're now creating as well?
I mean, I think it's every influencer's biggest fear that Instagram will just disappear.
I hope it doesn't.
And that's the other, I know, so do I, because I love it. And I don't think it will. I feel like it's too strong of a platform. Yeah. And even if it necessarily, let's say Instagram stops being popular, much like Snapchat suddenly just stopped, there will always be something else. Yeah. So it's not like you'll ever lose that, essentially. But I just think it's important to kind of, and that's why I want to start the businesses, because, you want something there. So it's not all just relying, because you have no control over Instagram. Yeah. Like, I don't own it. Yeah. I don't own, and I mean, as soon as you put your pictures out, you don't even own your images anymore. So yeah, it's just kind of like securing your future, I suppose, and being like sensible with it. Yeah. So. And you mentioned something's coming in October. Can you tell us anything about that? I know you've told us so much, and I'm really happy, but is there anything you can give away? Well, it's not clothing. Oh, so it's something else. Something else. But I don't really know what I can say, so I probably can't say anything because I'd probably say the wrong thing, knowing me. So just stay tuned. Okay, so something's coming in October and we'll just wait and look out for it. Now, what advice would you give to anybody who is trying to make it into the industry today? I would say to literally, one of my biggest thing, and I say to everyone, is don't focus on anyone else. So I feel like when you're focusing too much on what other people are doing, you get a bit like, you either compare yourself, which is not a good way to start, or you are trying almost too hard to be that person. Yeah. And I feel like on social media, you've really got to find a niche and really be yourself. Because if you're bringing something different to the table, that's what will kind of like work. Yeah. Because, there's loads of people already doing these things. So if you come in with something new, or just really, got a real like different sort of personal style, or, that kind of stuff, or really amazing personality that YouTube needs to see. Yeah. I think it's just really important to just do what you love and focus on yourself and not anyone else. So I think it's so hard. I think that's what happens with a lot of girls, is that, because I know even when I first started, I remember one of the bloggers who I've actually always followed is Angelica Blick, you know, the Swedish blogger. Yeah. She was probably one of the first bloggers I ever followed. And I remember when I first started blogging, I used to be like, oh my God, how are their pictures so amazing? Like, I don't understand. And there I am standing outside my brick wall. That's what everyone's like of you now. And that's the thing, is I was thinking, like, I'm sure girls probably do that to me now. Yeah. But when I first started, my images were horrendous. So it's just important I mean, it's just that really cringy quote, but it's that, don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 30.
I love that.
Because, you know, we all have to start somewhere. Yeah. So I think if you really want to do it, just start because you really enjoy it. Yeah. And the moment it stops being fun, then there might be an issue. Like, I don't want girls to start and then get really down because, you know, they're not growing or it's not going the way they thought. Because it's also, that's not fun. Like, don't put yourself in a situation to actually just feel really shit, because that's also not good.
Good bit of advice there. Yeah. Thank you for that. And to end this podcast on, before we go over to the DM section, I want to know one thing that we don't know about this Ashcroft.
One thing that you don't know about? My God, Lord, this could take a while. I have to actually everything about it. To be fair, I mean, no, you'd have to be a real hardcore fan to know this, but one thing that people probably don't know about me is that I still to this day sleep with a stuffed animal.
I actually know that, you know.
Die-hard fan right here.
Die-hard fan in right the room. There. No, do you know what? I only know that because you did a vlog recently with Joe in it. I think when you're moving
in. In the background.
And you mentioned, he mentioned it.
Yeah.
It was your Q&A.
Yeah, because he was talking about Flopsy, the bunny rabbit.
Oh.
Squidgy is the elephant.
Oh.
What was he talking about? Yeah, I've got 2. I'm really that sad.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm like full on. Squidgy's been around since I was like 7.
No
and
way.
I still to this day like fully sleep with the stuffed animal.
And he's still fully intact since you're 7?
Well, just about.
That's
and I'm
going.
like that. My mum will come around and be like, he needs to be washed. And I get like sad when he gets put in the washing machine.
I feel
like he'll be coming on like my honeymoon. Like he's going everywhere. I know. He knows all my secrets. He knows too much, really.
You can never leave him. You can't leave now. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us, Sarah. It's been amazing getting to know you. I feel like I've literally learned everything about you. And
thanks for having me. I've had fun. It's been good.
And now we're going to go on to your DMs.
I know, how exciting.
How exciting. So to everybody watching on YouTube, we are now going to take it into Sarah's DMs. If you would like to listen to the exclusive part of the podcast, then you'll need to click the link below and head over to iTunes. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be great fun.
I'm excited. Thanks, everyone, for watching. This has been PLT Behind Closed Doors with Sarah Ashcroft.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.